So Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner have been subpoenaed to testify about the coup. Finally, folks, we are getting closer to the moment we have all been waiting for. I am going to let my man Glenn Kirshner talk about this because he gives a fantastic introduction, and then let's just drink this tea together and enjoy it. This is one where we don't have to do a whole lot other than giggle like school children.
So, friends, it's pretty clear. Special Counsel Jack Smith is getting after it.
What an opening. I love it.
Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, Special Counsel Jack Smith continues to move at light speed. You know, he seems to have a real take no prisoners approach to investigating. Well, that is, until he begins taking prisoners.
Yeah, my beef with the DOJ in general has been that failure to take prisoners. Interesting choice of words.
Here is the new reporting in the New York Times. Headline, Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump subpoenaed in January 6 investigation. Former President Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka and his son-in-law Jared Kushner have been subpoenaed by the special counsel to testify before a federal grand jury about Mr. Trump's efforts to stay in power after he lost the 2020 election and his role in a pro-Trump mob's attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. The decision by the special counsel, Jack Smith, to subpoena Ms. Trump and Mr. Kushner underscores how deeply into Mr. Trump's inner circle Mr. Smith is reaching and is the latest sign that no potential high-level witness is off limits. Both, Jared and Ivanka, testified before the January 6th House Select Committee, appearing for videotaped interviews in which both provided memories about the day, January 6th. The committee, in turn, repeatedly played clips of their testimony at some of its public hearings. One clip that got considerable attention showed Ms. Trump making clear that she accepted Attorney General Bill Barr's declaration that there was no evidence of widespread fraud in the election, despite Mr. Trump's repeated claims otherwise. Mr. Trump was infuriated by the clips and what was said in them, according to people in contact with him. Friends, think about this. Jack Smith was appointed special counsel just about 3 months ago now, November 18th. And already he has subpoenaed a former Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. He subpoenaed a former Chief of Staff to the President of the United States, Mark Meadows. He subpoenaed Donald Trump's former White House counsel.
So if you want to know why I dislike Merrick Garland so much, it's the praise being given to Jack Smith right now. I'll tell you, the fact that you might say, like, all right, Jake, are you satisfied with 3 months that it took to get all these subpoenas? Kind of. Because there's no good answer to why that should be. Either he had a bunch of work to do because the work wasn't already done after 2 years. After 2 years, the work wasn't already done. Or he did take a nearly complete, I would hope, case and then took 3 months to get to the point of issuing subpoenas for these people. What I would have hoped to see is that Merrick Garland had the case more or less complete, and then he handed it off to Jack Smith to say, all right, you do all the public-facing stuff now because there cannot be even an appearance of yada, 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 yada. But what we learn here is that, more likely, Jack Smith is actually going to work. He's actually doing what we were hoping that Garland would have been doing since day one on the job. So yes, good for Jack Smith but equally so bad for Garland. I'm feeling a lot of anger right now, so I hesitate to make to stand by this declaration, let's say. But my instinct is to say that forget politics for just a moment. Deal with truth and acknowledge the fact that Merrick Garland is not a very good attorney general. And at some point, he's got to be replaced. And I would hope that he takes the dignified route. And as soon as these charges get issued, as soon as the case gets started, he announces that he's going to step down and hand it off to somebody else. Let somebody else do the job. Because he's got to go.
Former deputy White House
I don't trust
counsel. He has subpoenaed a number of Donald Trump's criminal defense attorneys, and now he's subpoenaed Trump's daughter and son-in-law. And when Ivanka, for example, is presented to the grand jury investigating the crimes of her daddy, Jack Smith will get to quiz her, question her, grill her on topics such as the following. Remember this from the January 6th Select Committee hearings? Ivanka Trump recalls father's final January 6th call with Mike Pence. "You're a wimp." Ivanka told her chief of staff on the morning of January 6th that she heard her dad have an unsettling conversation with Pence during which he called him a pussy. And friends, let me tell you, putting that kind of evidence before the grand jury investigating Donald Trump's responsibility for the insurrection, for the deadly attack on the Capitol, is a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Because Donald Trump's own daughter is going to present sharply incriminating testimony, proving that her father was waging a pressure campaign against his own vice president, trying to get him to join Trump's conspiracy, trying to get him to commit a number of federal felonies. Donald Trump was berating and belittling and pressuring and threatening and mocking and deriding his own vice president, trying to convince him to go to the Capitol on January 6th and violate the law, violate the Electoral Count Act. Donald Trump was trying to convince his vice president to go to the Capitol and obstruct the official proceedings, a federal felony, the official proceedings of Congress certifying the election win of Joe Biden. And when your own daughter, your own blood, testifies against you, what, is she going to be accused of having a bias against Donald Trump? That is going to be some of the most powerful, some of the most sharply incriminating testimony, and it's going to come from his own daughter.
Ivanka has always been a rhino. She's been a never-Trumper from the start. She is basically a Democrat. She's basically a Democrat.
He's got a point. It's going to be real powerful when Ivanka has to go up and say what she said to the January 6th committee, to the judge, to the jury. Real powerful. If she somehow gets out of doing that, which it's not crazy to think. I would go so far as to say it wouldn't even be corrupt if she got out of doing that. Wouldn't even be corrupt. To say that you're not going to testify against your father in a court of law, okay. But she complicated it because the J6 committee, probably because they had some cutthroat GOP folks on their side, took advantage of the fact that right-wingers are going to right-wing. They will stab each other in the back or the front or wherever to save themselves. And that is exactly what Ivanka Trump did. She covered her butt. and I think she did the right thing, by the way, by talking to the committee. I just think her motivation had nothing to do with what was good for the country. Of course not. Of course not. Now Jack Smith has that tool in his toolkit. And it's going to be just amazing watching the next couple of months of how this unfolds. What can you do about it? I would say, in this case, for this specific development, there's nothing we have to do. But be wary. There has been expressed already in the comments of this stream a distrust, an incredulity about the actual punishment Trump will face. I don't think I'm going to have to encourage you guys to watch the developing trial, but just for the record, do watch the trial as it develops. Because we are going to have to know what we're talking about in that time in between when the trial the presenting of evidence concludes and a sentence is given, punishment is issued. I think demonstrations in the streets saying things like jail time for real crime, chants like that, are going to be necessary because we know how this works. You understand it. I'm delighted to see that. A lot of other Americans understand it too. It's going to be laid bare for people how guilty this man is, how bad his crimes were. As we said earlier in the stream, 56 likely crimes committed between 2015 and now. We are going to have to make a show at that point. Not now, but at that point, we're going to have to make a show of how fed up we are. It's going to have to be the sort of thing that ABC has to report about. Because otherwise, there is the risk of the establishment folks who are in power now thinking that they can get away with the same practices that they have been using for all of American history until this point, which is attempting to let powerful people get away with anything.